appreciates a fanboy. But I just interviewed Jeff Sibbach, and I got to tell you, I didn't even put my microphone on. I'm so embarrassed. I was a bit of a fanboy. I mean, you can't help it. The guy's got 1,000 5-star reviews. He's ridiculously successful. He's well known in Arizona as a leader and as a producer and just a mega star. And he's on the podcast and he's answering my questions. So he's in the palm of my hands. But unfortunately, all I did was I was like, yes, Jeff, and no, Jeff. And I was just like, oh, boy, and microphone. It's pretty embarrassing. But I do think if you're a real estate agent, you're going to get a lot of juice out of this because the guy's mega smart and he knows what he's talking about. And I just hope that you really enjoy it. And thanks for Thanks for watching. And I'll be in and out to try to make up for all my, I don't know what you call it. Anyway, thank you for joining me on Beyond the Baseboards, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Superstar. I wrote down some of your accolades. This might get embarrassing, but you've earned them. Mr. Sibbach is the #1 ranked agent in Phoenix Metro. He's got over 1,000 5-star reviews. You have over 250,000 website visits per year, and you have an annualized sales volume for your team in excess of $376 million. You were a Real Estate Agent of the Year finalist, top 10 producer in both sales and buyers from Homes and Land. You were on HGTV in 2019. Your secret sauce is actually one of the fundamental things that make agents very good. And that is market expertise. Beyond that, you're also a really good dude. You may not remember this, but a few years ago, we had a transaction and your team was on the sales side, and my buyer was having complications. He was sort of uncooperative, and he needed a few extra days. And usually what happens when a sales side has leverage is they tend to push and be horrible and all this extra.
Yeah, they can be very aggressive. Yes.
Yeah. And you were super cool, very nice, absolutely normal. And I never forgot that for whatever it's worth. And so now I get a chance to talk with you a little bit more. And so I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I was very accommodating. I mean, it's a beautiful thing when we can work with someone with experience across the aisle, because the reality is win-win deals are the best, and I'm glad it worked out.
So, okay. So we have lots of layers here, because you are a superstar agent, superstar team status guy, and you're also a stone cold market expert. So we have lots of layers. I'd like to start with the market stuff because that's the stuff that I think really hits home for the vast majority of the audience. And there is some interesting developments that literally just happened from the Cromford report, such as, from what I understand, inventory doubled in 5 cities for the first time in the last month. And there's a lot going on. What are you seeing in the market? And is it cooling off? Is it going to cool off? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's some cities that have put on supply, but we were at an all-time low. So the numbers get a little wonky when you start to look at percentages. When you say inventory doubled, normally that would be a bad thing. When, in the face of the current market, it's welcome. So I think that we all will be happy to go back to a little closer to what a normals market. It's okay when the balance between supply and demand is a little off, but it was so, inverted for so long that, sellers actually got too greedy, and their expectations were, maybe way ahead of their skis. They got a little too much. And now the market's, buyers are starting to, be more cautious in how much they're willing to overspend. So, I expect the market to just go back to more normalcy. It's common, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, for demand to slow as we head to the fall. That's what happens every single year. Now,
Right.
because we came from such a, because from April to April, we had 20% more demand than we normally have, given up by, we had the lowest interest rates of all time. We had low supply, creating a competitive marketplace that people want to buy sooner because they know that the appreciation is going to go higher. There is rising rental rates, which is, those combination of factors led to above average demand. It's like when a market appreciates by more than 15%, it creates excitement about the market, and it creates, especially with low interest rates, people wanting to buy investment properties, that kind of stuff. And now that's kind of coming back to where what I would consider a normal market, where we do about 100,000 transactions. But I do expect supply to rise a little bit. So, and I think it's good, and I think it's okay. So, but I mean, we're going to keep appreciating because we're in such a supply deficit. Even if supply triples, right? If supply this morning was at 5,788. If supply triples and goes to 16,000, we're back to where the market was in 2019, which is just it's still favored in the seller. So we need more supply. So I think it's a good thing, even though it's going to slow down technically, but slow down to what is still a good market. So
In terms of, you can provide some long history here. You've seen cycles before. How would you compare this to, let's say, some previous cycles in the Arizona market?
Well, let's go with, the two cycles that are closest to it was 2012, the end of 2012 and the first half of 2013, and then 2005 and 6. So the difference between 2005 and 2006 is that we had a lot of empty houses, a lot of vacancies. So people were buying houses that were held empty. And the reason is because rental rates were at 70 cents a square foot. So now rental rates are at $1.30 a square foot. So now what I say is we have more people than houses. So it's all the houses are full. So there's nowhere for people to go. So the market is very different. Although the demand and when you have 20 offers, 30 offers, 50 offers, we had that in 2005, but technically supply is lower and demand was equal to then. The reason I compared it to 2000, the end of 12 and 13 is because I think the thing that's going to start to slow the market is when the Fed raises interest rates, because in the back half of 2013, we increased interest rates by 0.75 of a point to a point in a 6-month period of time, because rising interest rates actually does not really have as much adverse effect to the real estate market than if it happens really quickly. When the change in interest rates increasing happens very quickly, just like it did, creating more demand because they went to all-time low. Therefore, there was more people could afford more. But if it rises quickly, it will add supply. Because in 2013, we added about 12,000 homes. Because normally in the back half of the year, we add anywhere from 2,000 to 6,000 homes. So that year we added almost triple it. And that slowed the market. Anytime we have that much supply comes on, people fear, and the negative boo birds come out and talk about how, supply is growing too fast. But the reality is that will, I think, be the key point in getting us back to what is a balanced market.
So 2013 was the bottom of the last cycle, and it's gone up from there. But it looked like we had a pretty big resurgence in 2018 also. So a lot of people that bought in 2018 to now, they've earned a lot of equity. What was it in 2018 that caused the jump, or what are your thoughts in terms of when the bottom of the market was and the correction to now?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I pointed out in 13 and then 18 is that 14, 15, and 16 were very difficult markets when we added that supply, and we were basically flat to a little positive. What happened in 2018 is that finally because everybody was predicting that the market was going to shift downwards in the back of six. I mean, Gary Keller predicted it at the end of 16 or 17, and lots of people were predicting that there was a shift and it was going down there. What they didn't realize is that we weren't building enough houses. And finally that, they say gradually, and then all of a sudden we realized that, wow, we have too many people. Well, because during good economic times, population increases explode. Phoenix is the #1 market for growth in the last 5 years. That growth has caught up to us. And then it started to eat, creating more demand. And once they lowered interest rates, that really led to the boom cycle we saw in 19, 20, and 21, where no one predicted that we were going to have the lowest supply ever. And we did, but because it's compounding economic factors that decide where, economic policy, such as changing interest rates, decide. So because they had to combat going into negative GDP, they had a lower interest rates. So that really helped the boom that we saw, combined with the population growth that we continue to see. Because we underbuilt by about 1 million homes nationwide, but in our specific market, we just have not kept up with the addition of population.
So this is a bit of a softball question, but is now still a good time to buy, considering how rapid of growth we've had over the last 24 months? Is it still a good time to be a buyer?
Actually, yes. The thing is we're not going to see, you said talking about past years, we're not going to see the downturn that we saw in 2005. We had too many vacant houses, and therefore that led to a lot of foreclosures. All these people have equity now. It was built up on good loans. So yes, I think it is, because we're going to appreciate, year over year. I still think we're going to appreciate 12 to 15%. So would you buy? And then the following year, I see another 8%. Like I'm expecting 20 to 30% over the next 2 years. So I don't know. Do you like 20 or 30% appreciation? To me, I think we head more towards like Canada, where Canada peaked with the oil boom in 16 and 17, and then it came off the top, but it only came down a little bit, and then it went right back up. The government continues to put too much money into the system, and that will, I believe, create a floor until they resolve that.